3 sinister true stories that expose the terrifying secrets of what haunts us alone at night. Lisa had always enjoyed the calm of her suburban neighborhood, where the sun dipped below the horizon and the laughter of her 2 children echoed through their modest home. Each night, she would cuddle them close, their giggles like music as she tucked them into their beds. But one night, everything changed. That serene bubble began to burst. Outside her windows emerged shadows that merged and danced just out of view. Footsteps echoed in the stillness, lingering too long near her doorstep. She tried to brush it off as fatigue, but the pulsing flicker of her living room lights mirrored her unnerving thoughts. As nights dragged on, Lisa's anticipation twisted into anxiety. Mr. Jenkins, her elderly neighbor, started to drop by more often, always with a broad smile and homemade cookies. "It's to keep an eye on your little ones, miss," he insisted, his gaze lingering just a beat too long, revealing an unsettling curiosity behind his cheerful veneer. Whenever she'd muster the courage to smile back, chills would crawl down her spine. Tension thickened in the air as voices raised outside, a pain-filled siren's wail suddenly shattering their peaceful illusion. Children were disappearing in their neighborhood, just blocks away. The whispers tangled together, creating a web of worry, yet few spoke aloud about it. After tucking her children in, Lisa stole a glance outside. Darkness swallowed the street, but one figure stood hunched across the road, unmoving, watchful. The pit in her stomach knotted tighter each night. The figure seemed intent on her family's routine, as if keeping a note on every detail. Panic clawed at her mind, pushing her to call the police, but each time she was brushed off. "Just kids pulling pranks, ma'am." What? Kids did not loiter like that. Days passed, thick with dread, then one night, her world plunged into darkness as the lights flickered and died. Lisa's heart quickened, she grasped at the tangible fear twisting through her veins. Alone in the quiet, she fumbled for a flashlight, breath hitching with every creak from the hallway. The familiar noises of suburbia warped into an eerie symphony, and suddenly, from the deep shadows of the house, a voice cut through the silence. "I know you're home, Lisa." The word sliced through her, a cold whimper that resonated deep within. Her grip on the phone tightened almost to the point of pain. That voice wasn't Mr. Jenkins. It didn't belong to anyone she knew. Fear wrestled with her instincts as she sprinted toward her children's rooms. Was it too late? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. She cast a frantic glance over her shoulder as the chilling silence grew, an oppressive weight in the air. Something was closing in, lurking just out of sight. Shadows in the corners seemed alive, watching. Lisa's heart hammered in her chest, adrenaline racing, each breath sharp with fear. As she swung the bedroom door open, she braced herself. Her hopes for comfort crumbled as flickering quicksilver images haunted her mind. Something wasn't right, and she had to confront whatever haunted them. In that moment, despite the suffocating darkness, she sensed the worst was yet to come, and it was far too close for comfort. The room was cold, a draft creeping in as Lisa entered. The children's beds were empty, blankets untouched. Panic surged through her, tightening her throat. "No, no, no," she whispered, trembling as she called their names, her voice faltering. Silence engulfed her, a void that swallowed hope. The distant sound of a creaking floorboard echoed from inside her mind, taunting her. The flashlight flickered, and she cursed under her breath, shaking it like it could dispel the darkness. Fear has a way of warping reality. Images of empty playgrounds filled with whispers pierced through her consciousness, filling her with dread. She had watched her neighbors argue over children gone missing but never believed it could touch her. Fate, however, can be fickle. Heart pounding, she turned on her heel and dashed down the hallway, each footfall reverberating through the suffocating silence. The living room was a shadowy maze of furniture, and she stopped, listening closely. Breathing too heavy, too deep. Her pulse raced, thudding against her ribcage as a rush of dread filled her mind. "Mommy?" The whisper came from behind her, too soft and too close. Instantly, she spun around, her breath caught like a jagged piece of glass. But it was only the echo of her thoughts, twisted into something unrecognizable. Gathering herself, she moved toward the children's room. Perhaps they were just hiding, playing a game. "Come on, guys. It's not funny." But the only reply was the gnawing silence that clawed at her sanity. As she approached the door, her fingers grazed the doorknob, cold and unyielding. Just as she twisted it, a slamming sound echoed outside. Lisa froze, her heart racing. The shadows pooled together, swirling and pulsing, seemingly alive. Then, from the corner of her eye, she spotted movement, a fleeting figure darting out of sight. Panic gripped her. "Jeff? Molly?" The words tore from her lips like a lifeline. But the only answer was the rustle of leaves outside. Gathering her wits as best as possible, she swung the door wide open, anticipation twisting painfully in her stomach. How she wished to see her children curled up beneath their covers. Instead, she found the room untouched, the soft glow of her flashlight illuminating each corner empty. Her heart dropped. As she turned to step back into the hall, she felt a coldness crawling up her spine. "They're right behind you," a voice hissed, a mere breath of sound that sent icy fingers along her neck. Lisa whipped around, but the room stood still. Just shadows and more shadows. Get to the basement, now, she thought, instinct screaming at her. Desperation fueled her. She darted toward the stairs, feet pounding against the wooden steps, praying she wasn't already too late. Every creak echoed, a taunt from the lurking darkness eager to claim her. She reached the basement door, her thoughts racing, images of her children flooding her mind. They had to be here, somewhere safe, but just as she reached for the handle, a guttural laugh pierced the air, echoing into the depths of her soul. "You can't hide from me, Lisa," it crooned, each syllable laced with pure malice. Lisa's breath hitched, her heart slamming against her ribs. The mind can betray you in the darkest moments, warping friends into foes and blurring realities. She was running out of time. With trembling hands, she flung the door open and plunged into the darkness below, the echo of that laughter bouncing off the walls. The air grew colder. Was it in the shadows? Watching? Waiting? "Please let them be safe," she'd mutter through clenched teeth, descending further into the black abyss, terror looming just behind her. But just as she began to contemplate her next move, she realized something else entered with her. Something that wouldn't let her leave empty-handed. What awaited Lisa in the chilling confines of her basement? Would she uncover the truth, or become another whisper carried away by night? The basement swallowed her whole, the door slamming shut behind her with an echoing thud that reverberated through the confined space. Panic clawed at Lisa's throat. She fumbled with her flashlight, its beam wavering as she scanned the darkness, the air heavy with an unsettling stillness. The laughter still hung in the air, a cruel reminder of the sinister presence that seemed to follow her. "Down here, Mommy," the soft voice cooed again. It was unmistakably Jeff's tone, laced with something that twisted her gut. She shook her head, the sound of her children's names felt like a blade scraping down her spine. It was wrong, so wrong. Crouching low, Lisa pressed her back against the cold concrete wall. The basement was a maze of old boxes and broken toys, a graveyard of memories. The dim light shook as her hand trembled, illuminating the remnants of a past that refused to stay buried. She had promised herself that she would keep her children safe, that nothing would happen to them. But here she was, trapped, and the weight of her failure loomed large. "Please, guys, this isn't funny." Her voice quaked, and the shadows crept closer, dark tendrils curling around her. There was something inhuman lurking just beyond her sight, and she could feel it watching. Those small, too bright shapes danced at the edge of her vision. Lisa took a deep breath and stepped forward. A crashing sound erupted behind her, a box tumbling down, spilling its contents onto the floor. She whipped around, heart in her throat, and what she saw made her blood run cold. Scraps of crumpled paper spiraled through the air. Shadows pulsated in the corners, hungrily darting around the edges of her flashlight's beam. A flick of motion caught her eye. Something scuttled behind a broken chair. "Stop hiding!" she shouted, desperation fueling her voice. They had to come out. They had to be here. The thought of searching through the shadows for something unseen sent chills curling in her stomach, but she forced herself to move. As she crept deeper into the basement, an ominous whisper curled around her, drawing nearer with each step she took. "Mommy, come play." The voice, a melody twisted beyond recognition, beckoned her. She no longer recognized it as her child's, it was too heavy, too laden with malice. "Stay away from my kids!" she roared, the once small voice of panic now a primal scream for protection. Moving faster, she stumbled over a pile of old toys, her heart pounding like a drum ready to burst. She needed to break through this horror, this overwhelming sense of dread that wrapped around her like a shroud. Then, her ankle twisted in a loose wire, sending her crashing to the floor. Pain radiated through her leg, sharp and immediate. The shadows danced wildly around her now, joyfully mocking her plight. The laughter grew louder, echoing off the walls of her nightmare. Lisa clawed at the floor, trying to pull herself up as the laughter folded into whispers, muffled threats that slipped through the cracks of the dark. "You're never getting out, Mommy," it hummed, a sound so familiar and so wrong, each word dripping with deceit. The darkness thickened, an oppressive weight pressing down. Lisa felt her breath quicken, panic rising like a tidal wave. Tensed muscles screamed for control, yet the shadows encroached, eager to close in around her. She forced herself to breathe, to think. She couldn't give up, but then her flashlight flickered, plunging her into sudden darkness. "Jeff? Molly?" she cried, her voice wavering, swallowed by the abyss. The shadows began to retreat, coiling back. She could sense movement, raw terror pressed against her chest as she strained to see. What was still in the silence, lurking just beneath the surface? Suddenly, a cold hand grazed her shoulder, freezing her blood. Panic surged anew. She froze, waiting for the horror to unfold. Outside, the wind howled, blending her terror with the whispers beyond the walls. What would she find when the light returned? Would she expose the truth, or find her children lost forever in the embrace of the dark? As she braced for whatever lay ahead, she only wished she could turn back time. Could she ever escape the grip of this nightmare? Or was she already too far down the rabbit hole? The darkness was palpable, thick like syrup, wrapping itself around Lisa as she strained to breathe. Her heart hammered against her ribs, drowning out the sounds of the house above, the creaks and groans echoing like whispers of unspeakable dread. The chill of bone-deep despair settled in. How had she let it come to this? Her flashlight flickered back to life, casting an unsteady glow that revealed the chaos surrounding her. Fragments of paper littered the ground, old school reports, drawings, scraps of her children's lives now discarded and tangled with dust. But it was what lay in the shadows that sent a shivering chill down her spine. "Mommy," the voice came again, closer this time, hissing through the dark, as if the shadows were teasing her with their intent. It was a sound that no mother should ever have to hear, twisted into a cruel game. "Stop. Just stop," she shouted into the abyss, frustration blending with terror. But the only reply was more laughter, echoing like shards of broken glass inside her mind. The shadows, once tucked safely within her imagination, now thrummed with life. "Find us, Mommy," it was a desperate plea, warped and sharp. Gritting her teeth, Lisa forced herself to crawl toward the sound, every muscle screaming in protest. The broken toys crunched beneath her, sharp reminders of the innocent lives once played here. The air grew colder, and with it, the realization that she was no longer alone began to sink in. "Mommy's coming," she hissed, voice trembling yet fierce as she refused to be the hunted. The flashlight trembled in her grip, illuminating more of the haunting space. There. A shadow flitted past the beam, just out of reach. She imagined it was one of them. Jeff or Molly. Had they come to lead her to safety, or did they hide something terrible? With newfound resolve, she pushed through the pain in her leg, fighting against the growing fatigue that threatened to drag her down into despair. "Where are you?" she demanded, the echo of her voice swallowed by the darkness. "I'm here. Come to me." "Mommy, didn't he want us?" a voice taunted, wrapping around her like chains. Lisa's stomach twisted, her heart stuttering at the accusation that cut deeper than any blade could. Of course she wanted them. They were her world, her reason to breathe, yet here she was, unable to protect them from whatever had taken them. Each whisper painted a picture of despair. Was it something she had done? The thread of guilt wove itself tighter, suffocating her, then she heard its soft, deliberate footfalls creeping closer. Fear clawed at her throat. "Stay back!" she cried, but her voice trembled, revealing the crack in her armor. Out of the corner of her eye, movement. A candle flickered to life in the distance, casting a brief glow across the room. Shadows retreated, whispering angrily. Who or what was that? Was it her children, waiting to be saved? Or a fiend lurking beneath the guise of innocent play? Sweat dripped from her brow as she pushed herself to her feet, determination igniting her spirit. "Jeff! Molly!" she called, urgency bleeding through the softness of her voice. The flame danced, taunting her, revealing glimpses of what lay in the dark corners, hungry eyes blinking back at her, depths of malice trapped within their hold. The laughter crescendoed around her again, an orchestra of despair, but her resolve steadied. She couldn't let this horror win. She had come too far to succumb, but then, the candle sputtered. The laughter faded, replaced by breathing heavy and labored, much too close. What was waiting for her in the darkness? "Stay still, Mommy," the voice chimed in a sing-song tone, and it felt impossibly wrong as her stomach twisted with dread. Could she break free from this trap, or was she merely stepping deeper into its snare? The walls pressed tighter, whispering secrets meant only for the damned. The shadows thickened, coiling tighter around her, as she prepared to confront the darkness head-on. What hideous truths awaited her? What would the shadows reveal? The air thickened, suffocating her as the candle flickered one last time, and darkness descended once more. Lisa's breath quickened. The voice echoed around her, a twisted lullaby reverberating in the emptiness. "Mommy, stay still." Each syllable dripped with malice, filling her with dread. Panic surged through her veins. What did it want? She couldn't see them, but she could feel their presence growing stronger, creeping in closer. An icy finger brushed her shoulder, and she recoiled, heart racing, pulse pounding in her ears. "Mommy, didn't he leave you? I'm here," she shouted, a plea mixed with desperate conviction. But her words felt hollow, swallowed by the shadows, laden with something sinister. "Come play," the voice persisted, sweet and sickly like candy rotting on the shelf. Lisa shuddered at the thought of her children being involved in this grotesque game. "No. I want to play," she declared defiantly, raising the flashlight like a weapon. Suddenly, a small form darted into the pale light, a fleeting glimpse of a child's silhouette before retreating back into the abyss. Instinctively, she lunged forward, but the shadows twisted and turned, always just out of reach. The laughter erupted again, swirling around her, a cacophony of giggles blended with sobs, distorting what should have been innocent. "Mommy, hurry. We're hiding," they called, voices tainted with an unrecognizable edge. "You have to find us." An overwhelming sense of urgency shot through her. She had to rescue them, to rid this haunted space of its malignant grip. Eyes wide, Lisa moved deeper into the living nightmare. The flashlight beam wavered, battling the encroaching darkness. Old family photos hung askew on the walls, their smiles frozen in agony, as if their happiness had been snuffed out the moment the shadows arrived. With each step, she felt the weight of eyes upon her, hungry and ever watchful. "Why did you leave us?" they taunted again, the whispers blending into a sinister chorus. Tears welled in her eyes. Guilt clawed at her chest. She didn't leave. Did she? Cracks in her memory surfaced: arguments, neglect. Times when her attention had wandered elsewhere, when she had failed to shield her children. The shadows exploited her fears, twisting them into something grotesque. Was this punishment for her failures? Ahead, a door stood ajar, faint light spilling from the room beyond. Hope flickered. She edged toward it, heartbeat syncing with the rhythmic pulse of darkness around her, pulling taut like a bowstring. The closer she got, the more distorted the laughter became, as if it were soaked in malice. "Don't leave us again, Mommy," a whisper came from within. With a determined breath, she swung the door wide open, the flashlight illuminating a chilling scene that stopped her cold. The room was filled with toys, yet they were all wrong, twisted shapes and dark forms morphed into nightmarish versions of her children's favorite playthings. Dolls with cracked porcelain faces grinned at her, while action figures, dismembered and grotesquely posed, seemed to dare her to step further. And then she noticed the glow flickered above them, a mirror reflecting her own haunted visage. "Mommy," they echoed, laughter intertwining with cries, twisting her insides as if they were both beckoning her and warning her. "Bring them back!" she screamed, anguish slicing through her. In that moment, a shadow lunged from the dark, coiling around her leg, tightening like a serpent's grip. Frantic, she kicked free, but the shadows danced faster, drawing her into their embrace as if preparing to drag her down. "You shouldn't have come." The echoing laughter cried out, flooding her mind with terror. Suddenly, the laughter fell silent, leaving a suffocating void. The shadows pulled back, releasing their hold, as cold dread submerged her beneath waves of despair. She was left alone once more, a crushing realization settling in: she could not find them. They were lost in a labyrinth of shadows, and so was she. "Mommy," a small voice whispered from the corner, and the darkness shifted again. Was it real? Or was it another trick set to ensnare her? In that fragile moment, with hope and despair flickering hand in hand, she realized she was at a crossroads. Would she dive deeper into this hell, or would she break through the veil of horror keeping them apart? The pulse of the house grew louder, and Lisa stepped forward, resolute but terrified. What choice would she make? Would it lead her to her children, or seal her fate within the dark? The shadows thickened around her like a dense fog, intertwining with every fiber of her being. Lisa took a hesitant step forward, the beam of her flashlight quivering in her grip. Beneath the oppressive silence, her heart thudded, a drumbeat of fear urging her onward. "Mommy," the call was softer, yet deeper now, a lingering echo that seemed to swirl through the air like smoke, thickening under her breath. "Where are you?" she croaked, voice trembling. The remnants of her hope fluttered within her, a fragile moth trapped in a web of darkness. From her right, a muffled giggle sent a chill racing up her spine. "Mommy, come find us. We're playing hide and seek." The whimsy was twisted, mixed with something far more sinister. Lisa's stomach knotted. "Please, answer me." She felt her sanity slipping away, a dull panic encroaching as visions of her children flashed through her mind, their innocent laughter entwined with memories of bedtime stories and shared secrets. Then she noticed a flicker in the corner of her eye. A shadow darted past her, teasing, drawing her toward a doorway she hadn't seen before. The door was shaped like a crooked smile, inviting yet ominous, and beneath it lay a thin ribbon of flickering light. Lisa's breath hitched. "Is that you?" she whispered, fighting down the rising tide of dread. She moved toward it, compelled by an unseen force, though every instinct screamed to turn back. As she reached for the handle, a sharp intake of breath from behind made her pulse quicken. "Mommy." It was the voice, the sweet, lilting voice of her daughter, laced now with a seemingly playful malice. "Stay still. A sudden command blared from somewhere in the shadows, deeper and more menacing. Lisa's blood turned to ice. Who are you?" she stammered, the words catching in her throat, a knot of terror constricting her speech. "Just a friend, just someone who wants to help you." The voice dripped with false sincerity, oozing around her like honey, thick and sticky. "A friend who wishes to play." A scuttling sound echoed through the room, and Lisa swiftly shone the flashlight in the direction of the noise, breath held tight, but found only an empty corner. The shadows lunged again, this time teasing, coaxing, wrapping around her feet like creeping vines, pulling her back. "No! I want to let you take me." She fought against it, clawing her way back to the door, desperation fueling her resolve. Shaking off the icy grip, she wedged the flashlight against the doorframe, creating a flickering barrier. "Mommy, they want you to stay." The disembodied voices grew louder, blending into a haunting melody that twisted around her heart, tugged at her soul. "If you leave, you might lose us forever." "What do you mean? Where are you?" Her voice cracked, panic bubbling to the surface, the shadows closing in, trying to suffocate her hope. "Follow the light," came the eerie chorus of whispered voices, so many voices overlapping until they melded into a chilling lull. Lisa's head spun as doubt poured in. Could this be a trap? Was the light guiding her or luring her deeper into their dark embrace? The flicker on the other side of the door danced frantically, an enticing glow fighting for attention amid the encroaching darkness. Her children's laughter echoed again, mingling with cries of despair. Was this a game of life or death? She hesitated, torn between the echo of her love and the gnawing terror creeping up her spine. Whatever this darkness sought, she had to choose now. Would she brave the shadows or chase the light? Heart racing, she nodded to herself. "No more games. I'm coming for you." She shouted defiantly into the void, plunging into the darkness just as the light flickered one last time, but as she stepped forward, she felt the ground beneath her shift and shake, uncertainty swallowing her whole. What awaited her on the other side? Was it salvation or something far worse? Suddenly, Lisa was falling, the ground vanishing like a mirage. She tumbled into an abyss, the sensation of weightlessness followed by a crushing pressure that seemed to pull her apart. Just as she braced for impact, she landed with a thud, gasping as her flashlight flickered back to life. Where was she? The air was thick with a damp chill, and the atmosphere hung heavy with a musty odor. The once flickering light cast eerie shadows that danced and twisted around her, revealing nothing but walls that looked like they were made of rotting wood. Panic surged through her as she scanned the area, desperate to find a familiar face, a trace of her children. "Anna? Mark?" she called, her voice weak yet persistent. The silence swallowed her words, amplifying the dread in her chest. Ahead, a wheezing sound echoed, like someone struggling for breath. "Mommy!" It was a cry filled with urgency, but twisted, distorted. She felt her heart tighten at the anguish embedded within it. "Where are you?" she whispered, fear edging her voice as she moved hastily toward the sound. Shadows flitted through her periphery, teasing her with glimpses of movement, just outside the reach of her light. "Mommy, come here." The voice beckoned soft, sultry, yet it sent raw terror coursing through her veins. Each word dripped with malice, underscored by childish laughter that morphed into a shrill cackle. Then she saw them, two small, indistinct shapes lurking in the far corner. Lisa's breath caught. "Anna! Mark!" The children turned abruptly, revealing eyes that were unearthly, gleaming with otherworldly light, their faces somehow both familiar and grotesque. "You were gone too long." Anna's voice was high-pitched, but it held a tone of bittersweet sorrow. "Mommy, we almost forgot you." The shadows flared louder, a cacophony of whispers swirling around her. "They want you," came the sinister chorus, pushing her back against the walls that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "Join the game, Mommy." "No. I'm here to take you home," Lisa cried out, fighting against the weight of their grasping whispers, each one seeping into her mind like poison. "Home?" Mark echoed, his face darkening into an expression of disappointment. "But we're already home. You just have to play." "What kind of game?" she shot back, a flicker of defiance sparking in her chest despite the encroaching dread. "Hide and seek," Anna replied, stepping closer, the light illuminating a crooked smile that seemed to stretch too wide for her face. "But you're the one who's hiding now." Lisa's mind raced. This was no ordinary game, but a sinister trap woven into a dark play that sought to entangle her soul. The children around her giggled, their laughter echoing ominously as they began to chant, "Mommy's playing. Mommy's playing." She knew she had to act. If they were lost, so too must this dark place be. "I want to play. I choose to leave," Lisa shouted, raising the flashlight defiantly as if it were a sword against the encroaching dark, but the shadows roared to life, billowing like a storm. "You can't run from us," they thundered, voices blending into a chilling symphony. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and the walls began to close in. A blistering pain shot through her chest. The shadows pressed tighter, seeking to consume her whole. "Follow the light, Mommy," another voice cried, but this time it was laced with desperation, echoing her own plea. Was it truly her children? Or was it something darker still, mimicking their voices to draw her deeper into despair? The walls squeezed tighter, pulses of dread echoing in her mind. "I have to escape," she screamed, rallying every ounce of strength as she dashed toward the flickering beam of her flashlight, only to have the ground shift beneath her again. As she fell back, her body unable to fight the darkness, she felt an icy grip wrap around her heart, and then all went black. What would happen if she found herself with a choice that she could never have expected? A choice that could change everything or end it all? Light returned slowly, a dim glow penetrating the layers of darkness. Lisa opened her eyes, her mind foggy, struggling against waves of disorientation. She was lying on a cold, hard surface, her chest heaving as she fought to catch her breath. "Mommy, where are you?" The voice echoed again, distant yet familiar. This time, the chill that rode the words seeped deeper, wrapping around her bones like ice. "Anna. Mark." She shouted, the names bursting from her lips like a desperate prayer. But the only response was the rustling sound of shadows slithering across the ground. Lisa pushed herself up, hands slipping against something slick and warm beneath her. She recoiled, jerking her fingers back, heart hammering in her chest. Looking closely, she saw dark stains resonating with a terrible familiarity, not just a mark of fear but of something much worse. Her mind raced back to the labyrinth of the dark place. The thrumming whispers claiming her. They must be close. The promise of escape, did it still exist? Slowly, she stood, trembling as she fought against a wave of nausea. With the dim light that flickered around her, she scanned her surroundings. Walls of thick, gnarled wood encased her, almost alive, pulsating with a sinister rhythm, making it feel like the ground beneath her was breathing. "Find the light," the child's voice came again, but this time it was almost behind her. She turned, squinting, her heart skipping as she caught a glimpse of a shadow streaking toward her. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The figure came into focus, a child, or at least it looked like one. "It's your turn, Mommy," it sang, its voice sweet, yet underlined with a delicious madness that sent fresh terror into Lisa's veins. "Where are my children?" she cried, her voice rising in pitch, feeling desperation clawing at her throat. "Here. We're always here. But you must play. The shadows don't like it when you don't play." The child grinned widely, far too wide, its eyes bright with something unholy. The laughter echoed again, oscillating between beautiful and horrific. They were playing a game. A game of hide and seek. But what were the stakes? "Please just tell me where they are," Lisa begged, fear twisting her heart into knots. The figure bent low, its head tilted. "You must seek them, Mommy. You must find them before they disappear forever." "Disappear?" she murmured, feeling the weight of hopelessness settle on her shoulders like a shroud. "What do you mean?" Time is running out. It shouted, laughter rolling into a frenzy, jagged and shrill. Lisa felt the room begin to spin, terror clawing at her insides as she stumbled back, the walls closing in. Memory flickered through her mind, Anna's laughter, Mark's radiant smile, now ghosts teasing her from another age. "They're lost in the dark," the twisted child whispered. "And it's your fault, Mommy." "No. I can save them." She clutched at her chest, desperate to find some flicker of hope. "I can't lose them." But the laughter morphed, turning into shrieks that pierced her ears. The shadows began to gather, taking form, unfurling and swirling, as if alive, depriving her of the very air she breathed. "You still have a choice." The ground fell away once more as she clutched the flashlight in her hand. What would she choose? Would it be their lost voices, or the unfathomable horror surrounding her? "Find us, Mommy. Or join us." She felt herself teeter at the edge of everything, the abyss beneath whispering sweet nothings of surrender. Just then, a sharp crack echoed, sharp as glass breaking. The light in her flashlight flickered, revealing a dark path ahead. In that moment, the choice fell before her like a knife's edge. Would she dare to tread further into the unknown? Or was she already too late to save her children from the shadow's clutches? And just as the weight of the decision pressed down upon her, the lights began to blink erratically, plunging her into darkness once more. The darkness wrapped around Lisa like a thick blanket, suffocating and heavy. It muffled her heartbeat, yet she could still hear the echoes of the child's laughter, a cruel serenade that spun around her mind. Fear surged anew, and she clung to the flickering light of the flashlight desperately as if it were a lifeline. With a deep, trembling breath, she pointed the beam ahead. Shadows danced away from the bright light, retreating into the corners of this twisted realm. Each room she illuminated revealed grotesque murals painted in smeared crimson. They depicted visions of chaos, children running, laughing, but with faces contorted in terror. The more she looked, the more familiar their expressions became. "Anna! Mark!" she cried again, pulling at the threads of hope woven tightly in her heart. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled through the ambience, chilling her blood. The flashlight's beam flickered again, and the growl morphed into whispers that scuttled across the walls. They were snaking through the splintered wood, curling around her like vines closing in, each syllable laced with malice. "Mommy, we're waiting." Lisa's stomach churned. The shadows seemed to shift with her heartbeat, alive and hungry. "No!" she shouted defiantly. "I want to let you take them." The threat of anger cast a new glow over her courage, though she felt it ebbing away like the dying light of her flashlight. Then, something caught her eye. A doorway, half hidden behind a gnarled tree trunk. It beckoned her. An image spiked in her mind, Anna and Mark playing in their backyard. The sun on their faces, laughter echoing like wind chimes. But now darkness had swallowed them whole. She hesitated. Each step towards the door felt heavier, as if the very air was thick with the weight of her choices. But the whispers droned on. "Find the light before it's too late." They're fading. With a jolt, she crossed the threshold, the cool air rushing to greet her. Instantly, the flashlight flickered, then stabilized, casting an unwavering glow down a narrow corridor. The walls were lined with mirrored surfaces that shattered reality, displaying reflections of herself, twisted and broken, with anguished faces desperately clawing to escape. "Help us," they breathed, their voices fragmented, melding with the echoes of the children. "No, I won't." Lisa screamed, hands pressed against her ears, squeezing her eyes shut. But their pleading was relentless. As she blinked back tears, she felt an intense cold creeping in, seeping through the floor and spiraling up her legs. Panic surged as the whispers took on a more frantic tone, rising and begging. "Mommy! It's getting darker." Her heart raced. "I will save you." She clutched the flashlight with all her strength and ran deeper into the corridor, the light flickering uncertainly as she dashed forward, fueled by dread and an irrefutable need to find her children. Then something shifted. The shadows recoiled, walls vibrating as though sensing her haste. A figure appeared behind them, tall and dark, wreathed in despair. She could make out its eyes shimmering pools of infinite sorrow. Finally, it uncoiled its lips to speak, revealing a mouth of jagged teeth. Someone to play with the flashlight began to dim, flickering in and out of existence, replacing the glow with a gaping void. Lisa faltered, terror ripping through her as she watched the abyss yawn wider. "Find us or join us." Cold fingers of dread clawed at her back. The creature lurked closer, its whisper now an invasive hiss. Lisa felt the light wavering in her grip. No, please. Despair threatened to swallow her whole, gnashing with the fear that clawed at her sanity. "I will find them." But would it be enough? The darkness swelled, panic clutched at her throat. Would she become just another echo in this nightmare? As the shadows lunged for her, she took a deep breath, preparing for the leap into the unknown. Was the only way out to embrace the dark? Her heart raced as she plunged forward into the suffocating night. What awaited her on the other side? Lisa's world spiraled around her as she plunged deeper into the suffocating black. The ground beneath her feet was an unpredictable void, shifting like quicksand. She fought against the hysteria swelling within her, urging her to abandon hope. "I will find them," she roared, determination blazing in her chest. Suddenly, the void tilted, and she stumbled onto solid ground, heart racing. Directly before her, a sliver of pale light pierced through the vast darkness, illuminating an old, rusted door that looked eerily familiar. Could it be? "Mommy, hurry." A voice, softer this time, but tinged with desperation, slipped from the shadows. It belonged to her son. Bursting with urgency, she lunged for the door, gripping the cold handle tightly. Time was running out. As Lisa pushed the door open, she felt a magnetic pull, a rush of warmth wrapping around her. Flashes of light erupted around the room, guiding her vision to familiar silhouettes. There they stood, her children Anna and Mark, innocent smiles shining even against the backdrop of shadows lurking in the corners. "Mommy!" they squealed, voices bubbling with joy, a mirage contrasting sharply with the nightmare she had endured. Fresh hope surged through her veins. This was it. This was her moment, but just as she reached for them, dark tendrils sprang from the walls, encircling her like a snake, consuming all brightness. "You must play," the sinister voices chanted, vibrating through her bones. "No!" she shouted, channeling the strength that had anchored her throughout this harrowing journey. "I won't lose you again." The tendrils shrank back as her flashlight blazed back to life, bright and unforgiving. Using the beam, she directed light toward her children. "Run!" she commanded, heart pounding in rhythm with their steps, the shadows screeching in furious retaliation as they recoiled from the light. She dashed toward them just as darkness gripped her ankle, tearing her back. Lisa twisted, fighting against it. "Hold on, I'm coming." With a furious yank, she freed herself and sprinted through the dark portal, pain igniting in her leg but overshadowed by adrenaline and love. Mark reached for her, Anna followed, both shimmering beneath the oppressive gloom. "Mommy!" they cried, hands outstretched. "No more games!" she bellowed, raising the flashlight like a sword, purely focused on the duo. The shadows lunged again, striking hard at her resolve. But this time, she wouldn't falter. Together. A rallying cry, a desperate plea, reverberated in her heart. "Hold my hand." In synchrony, the trio clasped tight, and Lisa thrust the beam forward, illuminating a path emerging just beyond the portal. The shadows shrieked an infernal chorus, retreating as the light shattered their dark facade, twisting back into the recesses of the house behind them. "Mommy, look!" Anna pointed, and Lisa's breath caught. The doorway ahead shimmered with warmth, filled with glimmers of sunlight breaking through a veil, promising safety and home. In a rush, they surged through, bursting forth into the backyard. The golden rays of evening sun flooded their surroundings, washing away remnants of darkness. All at once, laughter erupted around them. The weight of shadows lifted, dissipating into the air like mist. You did it. Mark cheered, exuberant. We're safe now. Anna chimed. Breathing deep, Lisa clutched her children close, relief washing over her. No words were needed. Just the warmth of their little bodies, their beating hearts, the echo of life against every horror she had faced. But as she looked back, the house loomed behind them, its silhouette darker than the night sky. It'll never truly be gone, will it? She whispered, and with that thought, an understanding settled on her heart. Mommy, we're free, Mark assured, wide-eyed with innocence. Always keep the light, she murmured, pulling them closer. Together, they turned away from the relentless shadows, their laughter woven with fleeting memories, a reminder of what could have been lost. They would face the days ahead, shadows unseen, together, and as the sun dipped low, casting a final golden hue on their horizon, Lisa made a promise to herself and her children. She would always protect them, guide them, and remember that no darkness was too strong to withstand. With love and light, beneath the cover of the fading sun, the whispers of the past faded, making space for new beginnings, a legacy of courage crafted in shared fears overcome. Now, with the shadows behind them but the light ahead, they walked hand in hand into the future, ready for new adventures, forever strong together. But a soft hush fell over the air. The darkness waits, it always does. Don't let the shadows catch you next time. Make sure you subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.